Welcome back, everyone. I hope in the first module you learned all about relative energy deficiency in sport and the dangers it poses. And I hope you now know how important proper fueling is to your long-term health and athletic success. Going along that line, today we are going to learn about the basics of the three macronutrients. Dive in. Let's answer the question, what exactly is a macronutrient? Macronutrients, or macros, as you may see them called in social media, are simply nutrients that our body needs in large quantities. They are nutrients that provide our body with energy so that it can function properly. These are as opposed to micronutrients, like vitamins and minerals, that your body does not need in such large quantities and do not provide it with energy. First, we are going to talk about my favorite macronutrient, and one that receives all sorts of bad press in the media: carbohydrates. I know. That word has the power to strike fear in some of you, doesn't it? That's because carbohydrate is constantly demonized in the media and in current popular fad diets like keto and Atkins. Ladies, I am here to tell you that carbs are a good thing, especially for athletes. In their simplest form, carbohydrates are compounds that contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Not much scary about that, is there? Carbs are an essential part of an athlete's diet. So instead of focusing on the carbohydrate itself, let's focus on the source of the carbohydrate. One of the easiest ways to classify carbohydrates are simple and complex. Simple carbohydrates, also known as simple sugars, are compounds made up of one sugar. Complex carbohydrates, on the other hand, like starches and fibers, are compounds made up of many sugars. So what exactly is the difference? Since simple carbohydrates are made up of one sugar, they are metabolized quickly and enter the bloodstream fast. They are very fast acting and good for when you need energy stat. Some examples of simple sugars are gummy bears or popular sports drinks. I'm sure you've all experienced a sugar rush at some point or another, right? You can thank simple carbs for that. Complex carbs, on the other hand, because they are larger compounds, are digested more slowly. As a result, they enter the bloodstream more slowly and don't have as drastic as an effect on your energy levels. Complex carbohydrates keep you fuller for longer and don't hit you with that energy spike and subsequent crash. Examples of complex carbohydrates are whole wheat grain items like pastas and breads, or couscous, quinoa, and sweet potato. Now, another way that I've heard carbohydrates classified, and I'm positive you've heard it before, is that some carbs are good and some carbs are bad. Right? No. At Nourished Performance, we do not support labeling food as good and bad. Food has no moral value. Food cannot be good and food cannot be bad. Food is food. These words, like good or bad, carry powerful connotations and insinuate that if you eat a bad food, you yourself are bad and you may feel guilt when you eat it. Instead, let's talk about carbohydrates in terms of when different types are helpful. For example, complex carbohydrates should make up the bulk of the carbohydrate in your diet. They keep you full and satisfied and often contain a host of vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. They're great for the night before a big game or race, which is something we will explain in a later module. Simple carbohydrates are great for when you need fast energy, like right before, during, or in between games or races. And while of course you want to consume them in moderation, simple carbs like soft drinks and baked goods can be part of a healthy diet. I know I personally cannot resist a sweet treat every now and then. I know. This science stuff is boring. Why should you care so much about carbs? Carbohydrates are the preferred source of fuel for the body. And as young athletes who are active on and off the field, you need a lot of fuel. Carbohydrates should make up the majority of your diet. You need them before exercise to fuel activity. You need them after exercise to refill glycogen stores. More about that in a later module. You need them to fuel power moves like a slam dunk, or an overhead smash, or an 800-meter sprint. For fast, powerful movements, carbs are the main source of energy that our body uses. Another thing to remember is that your brain runs on carbs. Your brain needs a minimum of 120 grams of carbohydrate per day to function optimally. Do you know how many slices of bread that is? So how many carbs are we talking about here? The average active teenage girl needs roughly 2,200 to up to 3,000 calories per day, which is very dependent on training and activity level. I am painting this here with a broad stroke, so please don't take this as personalized, individualized information. This is just a general guideline. About 50 to 65% of the calories you consume each day should come from carbs. This means that an average active female should be consuming at least 275 grams of carbs every day. To put this into context, this is 10 bananas, 18 slices of whole wheat bread, or 7 cups of whole wheat spaghetti. And before we move on, I want to emphasize that you do not need to get wrapped up in numbers, and by no means do I want you to become obsessed with counting grams of carbohydrates, and I definitely do not want you to be counting calories. I am just giving these values to illustrate just how many carbs your body actually needs each day. I know when I first figured this out, it was a big shock to me, and it made me realize that I needed to incorporate way more carbohydrate into my diet than I was. Concentrate on including a carb source with each meal and snack, and you should be good to go. If you want more personalized advice, please let me know, and I will be happy to refer you to a registered dietitian who can work with you one-on-one to address your specific needs. I hope by now I've convinced you that carbs are healthy and an essential part of an athlete's diet. In later modules, we'll find out how to incorporate them into pre- and post-exercise meals to best fuel your performance. But for now, let's just quickly go over some examples of complex carbs that should make up the majority of your diet. And here are some examples of simple carbs that would be great to use right before, during, or after working out.